Content creators on YouTube are lying to you. This is something that I hear a lot in videos on YouTube talking about how content creators don't tell the truth about their move abroad experience. And I wanted to share a few points about that and what I think about this statement and why I strongly believe that it is a disservice to yourself if you are relying your move solely on what you see on YouTube. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you two examples. I'm going to give you the examples of in the business world as well as in the move abroad context. When it comes to the business world, when you see a lot of claims like, I made $1 million in 6 months or something like that, these could be true. However, you have to dig a little deeper. What does that mean? That means revenue, right? It doesn't mean profit. Somebody can make $1 million and run ads at, I don't know, $10,000 a month and have other expenses like an office, or maybe they have staff and things like that. And maybe they only keep $10,000 at the end of the day by December. Or maybe they don't keep anything. They still made $1 million in 6 months or 12 months, doesn't matter. However, what does it really, really mean? And we're so focused on the big claims and we miss the discernment. We miss critical thinking because we just take blank statements like this and we're like, oh my goodness, $1 million in 6 months, I can do that too. Yes, you can, but we don't see the behind the scenes of what happened, what expenses there were, what sacrifices there were, all of the things that helped, under the surface to help what came out of the surface for all of you and I to see. When we see ads, for example, Colgate or anything like a dental thing, and they say 9 out of 10 dentists recommended Colgate. When you're looking at statistics, you have to understand the meanings behind the numbers. If you say 9 out of 10 dentists recommended Colgate, well, what if all of the 10 are people who already are dentists who already use Colgate? Well, of course, they're going to recommend it, right? So 9 out of 10. Maybe the last one was using Crest and Colgate and would recommend Crest instead of Colgate, or maybe wouldn't recommend it, or maybe it's just didn't vote. We look at the number and we don't understand what's behind the number. We just look at on the surface and we don't dig deeper into, okay, what does it really mean? Now, in the context of moving abroad, a few people on YouTube complain that content creators don't tell the truth, that they lie about moving abroad. I don't know if I consider myself a content creator, but because I share content on YouTube, let me say that, okay, let me put myself in the shoes of a content creator. I stated in a previous video that what you see on my channel is what I choose to share. What you see on other people's channels is what they choose to share. Can I share everything? No. Can they share everything? No. Can they only focus on the good side of things? More power to them. That's their choice. It's their channel. They choose to share whatever they want. When you have your channel, you get to choose whatever you want. It's your channel, right? You get to decide. Now, when it comes to moving abroad, I have my notes here because I have a lot of things to say. You have to do your own research, but use critical thinking. When you're looking at people sharing their experience abroad, maybe it's the preparation, maybe it's their life abroad and they have an apartment for $200 a month. Do we know what neighborhoods these are? Do we know how safe these neighborhoods are? Do we know if there's like a landfill right next to that apartment complex? No, we don't. We just look at the number. Oh, $200 a month. Yes, I want to do that. And I want to take my whole family to, I don't know, Vietnam or Thailand or wherever it is, Ecuador, because I saw this big title of $200 a month. I can get an apartment for $200. And then when it doesn't happen to you, you claim that content creators are lying. Well, again, we're looking over the surface instead of what's under the surface. You have to do your own research, looking at different sources. Yes, you can go in Facebook groups, you can go in on YouTube, you can go on platforms like Numbeo, like to really look at the real numbers, but also people on the ground, looking at content from local people who live there, their everyday life. An expat life is different from a local life. The type of content that a French person is going to share is not going to be the same content, same type of content that an expat, an American expat in France is going to share. The expat is going to share the expat bubble, the highlights, the pretty things. The French person is going to share waiting at the bus, for example, for something, and then maybe there's trash on the side, or maybe there's dog poop on the side, or like the daily realities of things that an expat might just avoid sharing. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying that's usually how it happens. And so we have to use our critical thinking brain and look at, okay, how can life be like over there, like in terms of the vibe? Are people rude? But what do I consider rude and what these content creators consider rude? Elevation, the banking system, notion of time. Are people usually very strict with time or not? Is it a very chill culture or a very direct culture? What about pollution? What about gender roles? Okay, if this is something that is important to you. What about the roads condition? What about public transportation? Like, just because there's a good public transportation service doesn't mean that you are going to enjoy it. Maybe it's crowded. Maybe it's smelly. Maybe all of these things that you will not get from won't necessarily get from a few YouTube videos. And so the best alternative, the best way for you to know about it is to go on a scouting trip. So you can get a sense of poverty and how, every country has, you know, poverty pockets, right? You can go to any city in the US and you will see it. But how are you going to see it on your day to day thing? Like here in Houston, you will have to go into, like I said, in pockets to really see like a lot of homeless people and things like that. But if you stay in certain areas, you will not see a homeless person for the whole week, right? Is it something more prevalent in other cities, the city that you are looking into moving to? What about traffic? Again, road conditions. What kind of discomforts are you willing to let go of? And the things that are like deal breakers, like, no, I can't with this. Like maybe it's timeliness, how chill people are, how relaxed people are when it comes to time. If they tell you, I'm coming tomorrow, and they don't come tomorrow, are you going to be like, oh, okay, this is it? I like people to do what they say that they were going to do. And if they told me they're coming at 2 p.m. and they don't come and they don't call, that might be part of the culture. But maybe that's a deal breaker for you. So you have to be able to decide if, okay, what are the deal breakers for you? And usually, because we are so used to living our lives for years in a certain environment, we don't necessarily know what our deal breakers are. So that's why, again, it's great to be able to go for a test and see and notice the things that are like, oh, no, I can't do that. Maybe there's no water today, or maybe there's no electricity for 2 days. Is this a deal breaker for you or not? Maybe there's a lot of strikes, like in Paris, France, for example. And maybe that is going to be a huge deal breaker for you. You won't know until you experience it. So remember that everything, most of the things will be different. And that's the point. That's why you're living. You are not going to see another America, another Colombia, every country is different. And so we have to remember that, again, depending on where we're moving to, the differences might be small or they might be drastic, like really, really different. Even if you're living in the US and you're going to Western Europe, like even the UK, It's very different. Yes, this is the same language with a few exceptions in certain words, but it's different. It's a different culture. And so we cannot expect to move to a country and to live the same experience. That's the point of living. We have to recognize that when you're moving to a different country, it's going to be different. When I moved from Morocco to the US, it was different. There were some commonalities, yes, of course. There were some things that were very uncomfortable. English is not my first language. And I started school in English, everything was in English. It wasn't comfortable. But that's something that I had to expect, right? I couldn't just say, well, you know what? I don't like the fact that I can't find people who speak French. No, that's the point, right? That's the point of coming to an English speaking country, is the fact that everybody's going to speak English. And yes, I found a few French speaking people, and then we became friends and all of that. But the point is that it's going to be different. Culturally, it's different. The food is different here. Um, some principles are different. Some of them I'm like, you know what? I embrace those. And some of them till today, I do not embrace at all. But my job is not to change the culture I'm moving to. My job is to decide, okay, if I'm willing to let go, or if I'm like, you know what, this is a deal breaker, I'm going back. Same thing for all of us. If the move is voluntary, you're the one who chose to move, right? Nobody's forcing you to move. And so we have to understand that what we see online is just a piece of the whole thing. It's the piece that content creators are choosing to share. Do they have a responsibility to share everything? I personally don't think so. I personally, I'm okay if I'm okay if I follow a content creator who only talks about the positive side of certain countries. I personally am okay with that because I don't expect them to cater to every single one of my needs. Oh, how it is like for parents with kids, or how it is like if you don't speak the language, or how is it like if you're a woman, or how is it? They're not going to cater to my every single needs. If you want somebody to cater to your every single needs, book a consultation with that person, or go see by for yourself. But we cannot expect content creators to cater to all of our needs. They have their own preferences and they talk about whatever they want to talk about. Yes, you can share a very balanced view of, of your life there. And you can share the positive and the negative, or you can just share the negative or just share the positive, and that's fine. They are not my personal butlers. They don't need to cater to my specific needs. And for me personally, maybe for most people, they want like a balanced, view of, okay, the good and the bad of their life there. I personally, I'm okay if they only show me the good, because I know that I have the responsibility of looking for what the bad is, because I know my needs. What is it like? Like if I look at a content creator who doesn't have kids, I'm not gonna blame them for not sharing how is it like over there with people with kids. They don't have kids. What do they care? It's not their job, right? Unless they want to share about it. But I'm not gonna say, well, they didn't say that it's not very kid friendly, or that there's not a lot of parks that I can take my kids to. They don't have to. They don't have to share that part. If you're interested in that part, you can go and see for yourself and then share with us on YouTube. Okay, so are content creators lying? That's a very common thing to say that we hear a lot. I wouldn't say that they're lying. They're just sharing the part they want to share. And everybody has a phone or a camera and the power to share what they want to share. Now, what they're sharing is their truth, is how they're living the positive side or the negative side of their life abroad. And it's their perspective through their eyes. And it's their right to share from their perspective. They're not they're not journalists. They're individuals. They're maybe business owners or whatever they call themselves. But their responsibility is not to share a balance, not necessarily. Some people might say, yes, it is, but you're sharing your personal life. Share whatever you want. Just like a vlogger, for example, a family vlogger, doesn't necessarily have to share about all the fights that they're getting with their kids or their spouse, or they share whatever they want to share. Now, if you have good critical thinking skills, you'll understand that, all couples fight. And sometimes you scream at your kids. And what you see on that little YouTube box or on TV is not all real, or it's not all just this. There's another side. Okay? So we all have to use our critical thinking brain and do our own research to look at the other side, or look at the things that are really interesting to us. Like, oh, but what about this? Oh, is there how's the cuisine? Is it spicy? Is there gluten-free options? The fact that they didn't mention that, and that maybe they're, for example, they're vegetarian and you're vegetarian too, and they're having the greatest of time and they're eating great food and everything, and then you move to that country and you're like, man, they lied because it's terrible for vegetarians because there's meat in everything. They didn't say that on their YouTube channel, and you blame them for not saying that, for not mentioning that. Well, maybe they're okay with that. Maybe they find new other options. Maybe they don't they don't eat out. They cook all their food at home, but they just don't share that on their channel. Okay, so you do your own research, like all of us have to do. We're grateful that content creators are sharing a piece of their lives. They don't have to. And we are grateful that they choose to, because it's a very tough job to put yourself out there and share your life to people, and deciding on what to share and what not to share, because whatever you share, somebody's not going to be happy. So it is a tough decision, and I don't blame content creators for sharing what they choose to share, as long as it's their truth, as long as it's still true in a way, right? But I don't expect them to share everything and to cater to my own personal needs. Okay, so that was that. Let me know your thoughts. What kind of responsibility do you think content creators have? I'd like to discuss that in the comments, because I'm on the side of they can share whatever they want, because I don't take them as news. Well, news nowadays is more opinions, but I don't take them as as facts, or as, oh, because they said so. You remember that commercial, like what was it? It was I saw it on the internet said so, so it must be true. No, it's their own personal lives and their own opinions, their own experience. So what kind of responsibility do they have towards the viewer? Let me know. All right, talk to you later. Bye.